When you look at a bottle of laundry detergent, what you are really looking at is an overpriced jug of blue water. That is most of what is inside it. Pour one out, and the great majority of what runs down the drain is plain water, with a little dye stirred in and some perfume. The part that actually cleans your clothes is a thin slice of that bottle, and the rest is filler. Yet you buy that jug, and then another one, and then another one, month after month, year after year. More than anything else, you have been paying to ship water across the country in a plastic bottle. Here is the trick that keeps you doing it, and it is a clever one. You do not actually see whether your clothes are clean. You smell them. For 60 years, the people who sell that jug have trained your nose with a scent they called mountain spring or ocean breeze, until your brain learned to hear that smell and think the word clean. That is not chemistry. That is conditioning. Your nose has been taught to sign off on the markup. Let me show you something better, because there is a way out of this. For about what you spend on one of those jugs, you can wash your clothes for a whole year. The thing that does the real work is not a chemical some company cooked up in a lab. It is a berry. A little berry that grows its own soap that the Japanese and half of Asia washed their clothes with for hundreds of years, long before there was ever a detergent aisle to walk down. My name is Richard Nakamura. I grew up in a Japanese house in Ohio, and the women in my family never once bought a jug of anything if they could help it. That was mottainai, the word my mother lived by. You do not waste, and you do not pay a company for what you can do plainer and cheaper with your own two hands. So today, I am going to show you that old berry, the one that washes a whole year for pennies. Then I will show you the one cheap mineral you stack on top of it when a load is really filthy. And I will be straight with you about what this does and what it does not, which is a good deal more than the back of that jug will ever be. I will tell you when it finally clicked for me. I was a young man, first place of my own, and I was hauling those heavy jugs home from the store like everybody else, feeling like a real grown-up doing it. My mother watched me do that exactly once. Then she went into a drawer and pulled out a little cloth bag, drawstring at the top, and inside it were these dried brown berries she had kept from the old country. She said, "We washed the clothes on our backs with a berry off a tree, and you are carrying home a jug of water that costs more than the shirt." I never forgot the look on her face. A little bit sorry for me. So let me start with that berry, because it is the part that surprises everybody. It is called a soap nut, or a soapberry, and it grows on a tree that has fed and cleaned people across Asia for thousands of years. The skin of the berry is full of a natural soap called saponin, and I do not mean that as a figure of speech. The berry makes its own soap. You take 4 or 5 dried ones, drop them into a little cloth bag, pull the string, and toss that bag right into the drum with your clothes. That is the whole setup. As the water moves and warms, the saponin comes out of the skins and does the exact job the soap in that jug does. It grabs the grease and the grime, and it carries all of it off down the drain. The best part comes after. You do not throw those berries out after one wash. You leave the same little bag in for the next 4 or 5 loads before the skins are finally spent. And when they are, you do not put them in the trash either. You toss them out in the garden where they rot back into the dirt in a few weeks, because that is all they ever were, a piece of fruit. The Japanese thought so much of that berry that they had a name for its peel, a word that means, more or less, the skin that lengthens your life. They were not far wrong. It cleaned the clothes on their backs and it went straight back into the soil, and not one bit of it ever came in a plastic bottle. Now, I will tell you plainly where to get them, because you will not find them on the shelf next to the bleach. You order a bag of soap nuts online, or you pick one up at a health food store, and a bag runs you $15, maybe $20. That one bag will wash a whole family for a full year. So when I tell you this costs you pennies a load, that is not a figure of speech either. It works out to about a nickel every single time you run that machine. The berry on its own is gentle, and gentle is exactly what you want for the everyday wash, your shirts, your sheets, the towels, the kids' clothes. But say you come in off a hard day and your clothes are ground in with grease and sweat. Or say you live somewhere with hard water, the kind that leaves everything stiff and a little gray. For a load like that, you add one more thing, and this is the modern half of the recipe, a half cup of washing soda. Do not go mixing that up with baking soda. Washing soda is its stronger cousin, sodium carbonate, and it comes in a plain box for about $4 on the bottom shelf of any grocery store. Where the berry is gentle, this is the muscle. It is powerfully alkaline, and in plain English, that means it takes grease and oil and turns them into something that simply dissolves and rinses away in the water. It does a second job too. It grabs hold of the hard minerals in your water and pulls them out of the fight, so the whole wash rinse is cleaner instead of leaving that dull film behind on everything you own. The old folks did this very same thing with lye they boiled out of wood ashes. That $4 box is just the clean, easy version of a trick that is older than any of us. So look at how simple the whole thing really is. Getting a load of clothes clean comes down to two jobs: something to grab the grease and rinse it away, which is your berry, and something to cut the tough grease and soften the water, which is your washing soda. That is the entire science of it. Everything else in that jug, the water, the dye, the perfume, is there to fill the bottle up, give it a color, and make it smell like a mountain you have never once set foot on. Let me be honest with you about that smell too, because it matters. Your clothes, washed with the berry and the soda, come out smelling like nothing at all, like clean water. It takes your trained nose about a week to believe that nothing can mean clean. There is one honest thing worth saying here, and only because the skin doctors say it first. The American Academy of Dermatology's #1 bit of advice for anybody with touchy skin is to use a detergent with no fragrance and no dye in it whatsoever. Well now, this has neither. I am not going to sit here and tell you it cures a single thing, because that is not my place. I am only telling you what is not in it. I will be just as honest about the limits, the way I always try to be. This is not some industrial degreaser. If you are washing out a rag soaked through with motor oil, the berry and the soda are not going to work a miracle on that. And for a load that bad, you will want to throw in a scoop of an oxygen booster. And yes, the berry is a buy it online sort of thing, not a grab it at the corner store sort of thing. But for the ordinary mountain of laundry that a real family runs through week in and week out, this washes it clean for a nickel a load, and it never comes wrapped in a jug you have to keep buying and keep dragging out to the curb. There is no money in any of this, and that right there is the whole reason it slipped away. Nobody is getting rich telling you to wash your clothes with a berry off a tree and a $4 box of mineral. That jug on the shelf needs you back next month, and the month after that. for the rest of your life. A bag of berries needs you once a year. That is the only real difference between them, and it is a difference of a few $100s a year that could just stay in your pocket instead. So the next time you go to drop another heavy jug of blue water into your cart, stop for a second and think about what you are truly buying. Water, a squirt of dye, a cloud of perfume, and a promise you have to keep paying off forever. Or a bag of berries and a box off the bottom shelf, and a whole year of clean clothes for the price of that one jug. Tell me down in the comments what you spend on laundry detergent in a year. Add it up. I have a feeling that number is going to sting a little. Then come back and tell me how the berries did once you give them a try. And if your mother or your grandmother had her own way of getting the wash clean without a store-bought bottle, put it down there and share it. Because those are exactly the things that slip away the moment nobody bothers to write them down. I read every single one. My grandmother used to tell me about mottainai. It means nothing good should ever be wasted. Not the thing in your hands, and not the knowing of how to keep it.